Welcome everyone to the Real Whovians cast. I am your host, Matrixlord212, and I am with Lee. Good morning.
Good bloody morning at
It's
4 something o'clock in the morning.
I'm
Lordy,
spontaneous.
lordy.
Everybody knows that. I was gonna go to bed and I'm like,
I kind of like that.
I was gonna go to bed and I'm like, oh wait, somebody could do cast. We're off, me and Sharon. I'm like, let me go.
Are you an addict?
Do you see how many YouTube videos I have? Like 9,200
Oh my goodness.
on my channel. Yes.
Are you slacking? What's the matter with you?
Lately, I've been slacking. Lately, I've been slacking because I've been. Well, this is the thing. Like some of my fans, we don't realize when we do these streams all the time. But when we don't do what we're regularly supposed to do, it does affect others. Like Memory is a fan, and he's used to me doing streams, and he started doing podcasts with me. And all of a sudden, with COVID-19, I wasn't doing that. So some people take things wrongfully, and then he made a video against me. It was supposed to be funny. I didn't find it funny, and then we had a thing, and then he took it down, and then we did a stream, which was Real Beans Cast 1811, and then I had 1812. Now
I was just about halfway through that when we decided to do this. So there were some points he raised that I wanted to address as well. But I mean,
How you doing, all right?
I'm good. Yeah, I've just been doing a marathon run of the Umbrella Academy, and I just finished it. Okay. So I'm just kind of I've missed out on all of the. I go away for fucking 5 minutes. Well, not 5 minutes, like 5 episodes. And then I come back and find there's been all these streams going off, and I'm like, bloody hell! It's like,
what the hell?
It's like life imitating art. It's like a nuclear war on the Umbrella Academy, and then I come back and find there's been one online. So I'm like, okay, this is fun. What's happening now?
So I have to explain like what a Whovian means to me, because when I was in kindergarten, okay, I first experienced watching Doctor Who on my television set, which at the time we had two knobs, right? It was like the regular channels, and then the other channel was like UHF channels, right?
Mm.
So I started exploring, because we didn't have no remote control. There was the antennas with the tin foil on it.
I remember the days without remote controls.
Right.
I know.
So these kids don't, and some people had black and white sets, some people had colored sets, even though in the 70s, So I was experimenting, and I was like, when I was a kid, and I was like, what is this? And I was turning it, and I turned on to Channel 58, New Jersey Network, Doctor. It was Saturday night, 9 o'clock, and it was Pyramid of Mars, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was watching, and I see this guy, and like it caught my eye, and I'm like, because I was a little kid, and I'm like, why is this guy wearing a scarf?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like hot weather. Like he was dressed very strange, and he was saying things that I didn't understand. But I was like, oh my God, there's mummies. Oh my God, what's this? Oh my! So I got intrigued, especially with the TARDIS and the speech from eternity and everything. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
So immediately the next day, when I went to school, I was telling all the kids about it. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. It was kindergarten. What do we know, right? And nobody saw it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And like I got my friend into watching, my friend Anthony, and after that, like anything, the first real experience of time travel, right, and space and everything was Doctor Who, and that broadened my horizons to watch other things and open up the floodgates to Star Trek and Star Wars when the time came, and Back to the Future and everything. So from Doctor Who, like I just wanted to be like a writer. I just wanted to, I always wanted to be a writer after that, and I was always into sci-fi. I was a sci-fi nerd, and I wrote the Back to the Future Fan Club magazine. It was posted an article in there, and I was a kid, and I wrote for Spider-Man. I was into comic books too, and Godzilla and all that stuff. So I was just like, amored with Doctor Who my whole life. And as I explained to everybody, it's not just a television show for me. It was eating, sleeping, watching Doctor Who. Like, it was part of my appendage,
Yeah.
So when it was canceled, I felt like I lost a limb. I was like miserable, and thank God we had like Star Trek Next Generation and all this stuff that started flooding out, and they started spinning off with Deep Space Nine, and this and that, and this and that. But still, I was so devastated without Doctor Who. When it was going to come back in 1996, and they said Fox was going to have it and everything, I was like not really knowing that it was going to be a lot different because it's not the BBC. Because I still was a kid, so I didn't really know the difference. I was like, oh, it's back on TV. I didn't know who did what. Right. I didn't know who did what. I just see the blue box. I'm like, oh my God. So in the newspaper, I'm like, okay. So 1996, I see Paul McGann, and I'm like, I felt it was different, but I was like, all right, he's cool, you know. And then it was canceled again. It was like nothing.
Double whammy.
So then it was like, you know, since then I had kids and everything else. Comes back in 2005, and we were restricted. We weren't allowed to see it here because it wasn't like today, like everybody sees it at the same time. We had to wait like 6 months to a year. I was buying Doctor Who magazine, but Doctor Who magazine was still around, and I'm like, well, how am I going to see this? How am I going to see this? And then we would try to do stupid things like see it on YouTube, but you had to type the thing in backwards. And then they did there's all of the games. Like people named the episode of Doctor Who different things. You encode so you can see it like you weren't really supposed to. So I was watching it that way, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. And I felt like a kid again. And when it came to the YouTube channel, I was wound up doing books first, but I had the YouTube channel since 2007, and I was like, you know, I was just happy commenting in Doctor Who forums. And never was going to do a video ever until my friends were like, you got to do videos, man. Like, this is all the rage. Like, you got to do. So I was very shy in my first video. I was very quiet. I bought the headphones. I bought all that. And and then right after I made the first video, I started making like 10 videos a day, sometimes 15. It was all about Doctor Who. All about Doctor Who. And then it evolved into like, not just single videos, podcasts. Like we had a thing where all us Whovians got together, and I was the host, the Whovians podcast, and then that disbanded. And I created the Real Whovians cast, and other people created their own podcast from it. Everybody went, you know, split kind of, and then it was weird. We were doing each other's casts, but then after a while, it was like, no, I'm only going to do my cast. It was weird, but the fandom, just the community got crazy, you know, and Right, and I started doing things because I felt with all the delays with Doctor Who, I needed to do other podcasts so that way the Real Whovians, my group, could have some place to go and talk about other stuff while Doctor Who's off the air. So I did the Everything Show as well as other podcasts. But I had, over the years, trolls and people and threatening and everything. And now it seems like the Whovian community, again, is stirring up and ready for whatever version of this is, just like different versions of Zion in the Matrix movies. Like, everybody's looking to battle again, you know. So, you know, you get from one battle's over, then it's another battle. So, with the Real Whovians cast 1811, I was discussing with Memory, like, his video about me, and then, you know, he took it down, and then he started talking about other people and everything, and then Tharies came up, and I was very vocal, you know, when I was saying some things about him, and I'm like, I was pissed because my whole thing is that you don't just make a damn stream about a person, you know, and you put like a hashtag like fuck Noel, and I'm like, do you realize what that fucking means? Fuck Noel means let's go fuck up this motherfucker. Like, you put fuck Noel and like attack this guy. That's what it means in America. And I don't know what it means in the UK, but that's what that means. It's
pretty much the same sort of thing.
And I explained to him off air, I says, you were Rassilon, you went with your fucking stick, and you're standing over all the fucking Time Lords, and he's like, Gallifrey rises! Gallifrey rises! And this is what you're doing to Noel. And then all these motherfuckers are attacking him, and you don't know that you created that? Like, you didn't know that, like, that happened?
Well, they created the fandom menace. This is the thing they don't understand. We are a reaction to how we were treated in the first place 3 years ago. This stems from that. And they don't get it. They don't understand that they made Bolstrek. They made TARDIS Zone. They they may certainly have not instigated them being around on YouTube, but they certainly did change the mood of this fandom. And that you know, I lay this squarely at the feet of the BBC, Piers Wenger and Chris Chibnall and co, because they knew, they must have known that this would have been incredibly divisive.
I don't think they cared.
They did not care.
And they pushed it away, thinking it would go away.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to bring in a new audience, right? You don't generate a new audience by contrivance. And this is what it was, a contrivance. People have been manipulated. The thing is, what happened in 2005 was they generated a new audience there, because obviously it was brand new to a lot of people, and also a lot of old people who wanted to let their children or whatever get into watching what they grew up with.
Right.
So yeah, it was an injection of new fandom. Trouble is, we brought in a huge amount of normies. Okay, by normies I mean like the general population, the casual viewer.
Right.
Some of which became fans, some of which sort of watched for however long because Tennant was the Doctor, or because Matt Smith was the Doctor, or whatever, and then they zoned out afterwards because they lost interest. That happened. But science fiction is, I would argue, an intellectual pursuit.
Oh yeah.
It engages the mind of intelligent children. When you raise a child with science fiction, not only does it open their mind to incredible possibilities. Look at NASA, for example. Like,
all of those buggers, they do.
I've all been watching Star Trek since forever.
Right. They developed the technology to mimic Star Trek, like the opening doors, the communicator, the cell phones, the iPad, everything. It's been.
And Isaac Asimov was the pre-Trek sort of science fiction thing. So you've got it going back to sort of H.G. Wells and so on. So you've got a very literary background, novelists and such. Then you've got the television experience, and you've got the sort of the fantasy for intellectuals, basically. It's an escape valve for the wandering mind, the mind that seeks to understand things more. Trouble is, in 2005, you've got an audience addicted to their social media already at that point, and has evolved along with it. You've got a generation absorbed into a new process of indoctrination. This is the indoctrination of the postmodernist school of thought. It's a crazy French philosophy from the 1960s, from people like Derrida, people like Foucault, who had some very dubious philosophical notions of post-colonialist reconstructionism and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is sort of become sort of the normal within the education system, not just in universities, but also now in preschool. Right. Okay, so this generation Z or Z or whatever, the post millennials who sort of came in on that level, and now it's, you know, they from the university aspect, so as older teenagers, I guess. Right. Now it's like a generation raised on it from cradle to grave at this point. So it's
so these kids they don't like see, they're like, oh, it's just a TV show. But they don't understand that it's been around for like 57 years. It's not.
No, they understand it. They understand it. But what they don't employ is empathy. Empathy seems to be a dirty word, or a misunderstood word, let's put it that way. I believe people think they're doing the right thing, that they are being moral and that they're being correct and that they're doing the right thing, but they're not questioning any of it because they are so convinced that they are right.
Oh yeah.
And they are on a crusade to educate their elders. And this is not a way things work, because when you're younger, you make fucking mistakes, right, and you don't know it. Like Oscar Wilde once said, the old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, the young know everything. And I think in there you can read between the lines, right?
Right.
And it's not, I'm not trying to denigrate the younger generation. I just want them to actually start thinking about questioning what you're taught. When I grew up as a Gen Xer, you know, I was born in 75. I've gone from the analog world into the digital world as an older formed adult. I had my rebellious phase. You know, back in the day, we had our own sort of countercultural youth rebellion that most kids go through. And then you come out the other side and you look back on your mistakes, for which are many. But you forget we were young at one point and we made mistakes. We made a lot of the same mistakes that people are doing now, but we didn't have it in such a way that it was so public and so for everyone to see online, marking you forever in zeros and ones on the screen. Okay, it's there. And the peer pressure back then was bad. The peer pressure now is global. Okay, you got people from Australia, America, Canada, Britain, all over, judging everything you say and everything you do.
Right, and get offended by everything.
That conformity, that pressure to conform to one ideology is dangerous. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to accept or rebel everything, but you should be aware that you have within your own capabilities, in your own brain, in your own mind, in your own self, as an individual, which is now a dirty word, as an individual, you have a duty and a responsibility to yourself to question and critique things. That's something we still have from our education, from the time that we came from. And it almost seems alien to this generation that you know, that we are negative. We're not negative. We're critical. And sometimes that may come across as a bunch of old men moaning.
Well, that's the thing. When they right away throw age into it, like they know everything, and we should be like sitting in a chair.
It isn't acceptable.
Watching TV and not work anymore because we're too old to do anything. They don't realize that when they get to our age, they're probably going to be still YouTubing and tweeting and everything else. Like your life just doesn't stop because you go to a different age number. You know, I'm still a kid at heart. Like in my just you know, so happy to do casts and podcasts about Doctor Who and everything else. And I may have kids myself, and now they're adults, but I still get my stuff, my collectibles, my things. Like life doesn't just halt. You don't just grow old and die. You know, it's like you evolve, I believe, and people just see it like, oh, you're old. You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be on YouTube. You shouldn't be on here. Like
they was euthanized in the
like dog years, like we're dead or something. Right. Like, no, we created this whole, you know, mess, YouTube, and a lot of people.
Well, the boomers did. I mean, the thing is about Generation X that a lot of people seem to lump in with boomer generation is we were the generation that got forgotten about, right? We were in between the millennials and the boomers. The boomers got everything. They had free education. They had all the benefits of getting, I mean, in this country at least, getting the council house. I managed to be able to buy those under Thatcher, and then, you know, they benefited from the boom. Gen X was the generation that came after the boomers, who drew up the ladder behind them, fucked us. They fucked us completely in the arse, fucked us hard with a big, massive 40-inch fucking dildo, and we've been bleeding out the arse ever since.
Oh, that Vaseline. No, I'm kidding.
I'm doing a rabbi. He's obsessed with anal bleeding.
Gotta get him on here too.
But we had to struggle hard in our lives, actually. At least in this country. I don't know what it's like elsewhere.
It wasn't easy either.
Yeah, Generation X had it fucking tough, right? We were completely forgotten about, ignored. That's why we called the lost generation, the forgotten generation.
Right.
Gen X. You know, it's like punk came about through that. They were boomers, but punk inspired a generation, Gen X.
Right.
And we grew up with that sort of rebellious kind of nature in us. I think we were quite outspoken.
Yeah.
Had to be, because we had to fight
Absolutely.
for everything.
Yeah.
And that's how we are. That's why we are like how we are, because we had to struggle and fight. We didn't have things handed to us. We didn't have the internet like there is now.
Correct.
We didn't have them.
When we
had to be somewhere, we had to
school,
organize it days in advance, you know, and be there.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So we the reason why we are so passionate is because we've spent all our lives having to try and get our voices heard.
Right.
And now
somebody comes along and they just kind of like try to swat you away.
Yeah, exactly. You go away.
Meanwhile, I've been here for so many years. You've been here, like everybody's been here, and it's like these Johnny come latelys or whatever they come in here. They think, all right, just go away. We're this is ours now.
We're taking over. So
no, not really. Yeah, no.
After the boomers, the millennials came along, and there was a big increase in population. Gen X was a smaller generation because there was less fucking. Okay, basically, and the boomers done their shit, produced all these babies. They weren't having kids. They were too busy spending all that free money they had on themselves. Right. So Gen X got squeezed out. We were a smaller generation, and we had a lot of burden on us because we had an aging population and less of us to deal with it. That's the reality. Okay, so that's a little bit of education in terms of where we come from. Okay, where you and I come from, our generation. And I don't think that's understood. I don't think that's.
And we went through Doctor Who being cancelled already.
We went through that with that loss as well. So we had a lot.
And they don't understand that we don't want that to happen again. But it's going to happen.
We don't. But we also understand that if it doesn't, it's going to get infected with this very weird postmodernist mentality. Right. The thing is, what it seems on the surface to a lot of people, especially the newer generations, is that it's all based on good ideas. We don't argue those ideas. But what they're doing is they're using those ideas as a front, a skin around this thing. So you buy into the wholesale. But what it actually is it's covering this big fucking mammoth monster behind it, which is manipulating your sense of goodness and doing the right thing so you can be manipulated. Because if you don't go with the grain, then you're seen to be doing bad things.
It's like you go into a restaurant and they change the cook, right? And you're used to going to this place for 10 years and everything out of loyalty, right? And then you eat the dish and it doesn't taste as good. Now, do you stop going there and you go somewhere else, or do you just accept what it is? And a lot of people, I think, accept the garbage and accept, oh, it's not that bad, and they keep eating it, and it gets worse and worse and worse, but they just are used to a routine. Now, you would just go somewhere.
It's good.
Right. So, like this thing, when I seen like the doctor giving this passionate speech like a doctor's supposed to do, but to a frog, I was like, what? What the hell is this?
I think like it was politically correct. It was trying to achieve with the frog thing. Okay, let's talk about that for
please.
A second.
That was like a marriage proposal or something.
The frog
was
thing.
Weird.
It was Chris Chibnall's attempt, I think, at trying to emulate Douglas Adams. Douglas Adams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
because that absurdist kind of surrealist moment.
That city that like the frog. That's what he's trying. That's his way of.
I think he's trying like something like from Dirk Gently. You know, something very surreal and unexpected, and it just fell flat because Douglas Adams had a particular style of humor. Right. Which I don't think anyone could ever say that Chris Chibnall has particularly great sense of humor. It doesn't come across. He writes dour dramas. I mean, look at the thing. I never watched it, but I mean, it looked bloody depressing. That thing he wrote. I can't remember what it's called. The thing with Helen. The thing with David.
Broadchurch?
Yeah. I mean, it looks so dour and depressing. It's like no chance. Not for me. So when when I heard he was taking over, I thought, God, it's going to be depressing. And I was right.
I thought it was going to be good because I figured, all right, he did some Doctor Who, but You know,
but he didn't write the stand.
I didn't know it was going to be worse.
Yeah, well, I had my feelings.
I was concerned when he said no old monsters returning. Like he was going to do his own thing, create his own.
The guy's an egomaniac.
Right.
I mean, he's admitted that the Timeless Child thing was a teenage fanboy fanfic thing, like his wet dream or something, and he's stuck with it. Now, listen, I've had many, what I think are absolutely wonderful stories from when I was 15. If I were to write them today, they would be blockbuster movies and big seller novels. Probably not. You know, one likes to think oneself to be beyond the realms of just simply adequate. But in reality, maybe not so much. And I think without that kind of level of check, you can sort of run away with yourself. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't inspire. I mean, he doesn't. Even when he does his editorials,
he is making every
depressingly detailed.
He's just splitting the fan base in pieces, and it just this whole timeless child thing, destroying Doctor Who canon. It ruins the whole concept of the show. It just destroys the whole foundation.
And what people need to understand about canon is canon is very much an interactive process. Okay, if you look at a lot of the canon things that were popular or unpopular, the unpopular ones were pretty quickly either written out, forgotten about, or altered in some way. Like the Morbius Doctors, for example. Soon after that story, they wrote in the 12 generation limit.
Right.
I think that was to redress that and to never speak of it again. You know, it was a 2-minute scene in a 1976 episode that fans talked about for years, came up with loads of theories. The general consensus was it was a mind game and the Doctor was playing tricks with Morbius, and that they were maybe Morbius Doctors, or, you know, the Doctor creating an ancient life, or it could have been there's maybe Cartmel had hinted at the other or something, and it's not the other. You know, Timeless Child is nothing like that, and Cartmel absolutely destroyed that in a stream interview where he said, no,
because the Doctor's been around Earth history for so long, he could have just shown different faces and make it like he's seen more in his lifetime. Right.
It's a mind game. I mean, you know, it could be any number of things, but they glossed over that and it was never mentioned again. This is obviously stuck in.
That's how Chibnall brought it, right? Of course.
Yeah, and it's like
it doesn't necessarily mean,
but it's not popular. It doesn't matter by any metric. It's not popular. It may be popular amongst a certain group of people within the fandom, a very large majority on Twitter. Twitter is not the real world, fellows.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And I think that it's run away with, and of course the BBC wants to protect its IP. Protected by allowing it to be destroyed, but that's another story. But the BBC is fundamentally overrun with postmodernist.
But God forbid you give an opinion about it, like against the time.
Well, this is it. This is what they need to understand.
You're a hater.
Our opinions, hate is look.
That's
hate
a strong
is
word.
A natural human. That's a no. I don't have a problem with that. Hate is a normal, natural human response to things you don't like, especially things that harm something you like or you yourself. Okay, so when we see harm and damage, what we perceive as harm and damage to our beloved show, we're going to react with hate for what's been done, not to the people themselves necessarily, but to what they do and what they represent. And what they represent is a skewed notion of the world we live in. Yes, it's all glitzy and glamorous and diverse and wonderful on the outside, but it's so superficial, it's so surface level. It focuses solely on the immutable traits. Skin color, race, gender, sex, etc. But they're done in such a way that it's lip service, like even with mental health and things like that. It's done, or we'll focus on that in one episode, and you know the story can sort of be this sort of thing that it can hang on. You know, it's like it's there to look how virtuous we are. Look at what we're saying. Look how wonderful we are for bringing this into the public realm and
a lot of that
educating
stuff is fake, though, because a lot of that stuff is fake. Because here's the thing: when Jodie Whittaker was announced as a doctor, there were all these Doctor Who fans that said that they were going to watch it, and half of them didn't, because maybe they were women. They were like, "Oh, yeah," and then they didn't watch.
A lot of women hate it. A lot of women hate it.
I had women on my cast, multiple women on my cast. They couldn't stand it, the reveal. We were so upset when it happened. And this is, I had adults in my women. It was like my whole. Maybe there was one or two that was like, oh, let's see what happens, whatever. But you know, I told Canine across the room. I was pissed. I was angry. I was going to take down all my Doctor Who pages on Facebook. I was flipping out. It's never been so mad. I cursed so much in my live stream. And I do so many casts that I basically did before she even aired. 450 of these podcasts I did before she started. And I had people sending me video of she did this and she did this with Christopher Eccleston. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe she can. You know, maybe she could be good. And when I first saw the leaked clip, I was like, you know what? She sounds like she could be a good doctor. Let me give her a chance. My whole take on this is when I was a kid and I saw the Sixth Doctor choke Perry, I was done. For me, it was so traumatic.
That freaked me out as a kid. It freaked me out
so bad that I did, for the first time ever, I did not like a doctor, right? I watched it, and it had some of the greatest moments of Doctor Who with the Valyard and all this stuff, but I was not a fan of him. And then years, so many decades later, Big Finish, and you get to hear him as the Doctor.
Of the Sixth Doctor.
It's night and day. Right? It's so much better. And I had it, and then I started thinking, you know what? Maybe it wasn't his fault. It was probably the showrunner, the writer, whatever. So I sort of felt like that with Jodie. I said, you know what? Here it is. This guy's telling her not to research Doctor Who. He's her boss. He's giving her a direct order. The moment she stopped filming, she did her thing on camera saying, I'm going with my family to America on vacation and I'm going to binge watch Doctor Who. He can't say anything when she was. And I like that because I was like, you know what? Here it is. She did want to learn. He didn't want her to learn, And there was different things that happened too, like with her singing Yellow, and he was against it. And she said, my coworkers were mad that I did this. She didn't mean like her coworkers, like her companion. She meant Christian Paul was pissed that was making her,
Do you think she actually watched any Doctor Who? I don't think she has.
I think she definitely did. I think she definitely did because not only did David Tennant and her go into competitions, just like friendly things at cons to show off her stuff, but Arthur Darvill saying that she did, Moffat saying that she did. Certain people have said she actually watched it.
But in interviews, like when she's asked questions, like in that HBO one, for example, like. So what companion from the past would you bring back? And she said, Grace. It's like from her own series. It's like she was from her own facial expressions. Yeah. You can see she was out of her depth. She didn't know the answers. She didn't know anything about these. I don't know if she watched every single thing, but I know she watched all the Master stuff. I think she watched Tennant. I know she watched all the Master stuff. And, that's why it was genuine, I thought, in Spyfall when she was like, with the eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, it's you. But my thing is, there's a lot of episodes of Doctor Who she has to watch. Still, I don't think she watched Matt Smith watched a story from every Doctor. Just one story of each Doctor. I think that's what we understand is what he did. And he was obviously from the generation who grew up without it when it was off. Right. But he became a fan. Didn't he write some story himself? I think he wrote a story
I know that he said, she said Rory. Noel said she liked Rory. Yeah.
That as well.
Yeah, that's it. But although, I like Rory also.
But she knows him as an actor. She's worked with him before. Doesn't mean
he's coming in Big Finish.
In Doctor Who.
Well, if you think about Rory, he kind of got a bad rap. It was always about Amelia Pond, Amy Pond.
I like Rory. I thought he was very underused.
And it was weird how he was with the Doctor for so many adventures we didn't see, trying to find Amy. You know what I'm saying? that's another interesting thing too. You don't know is like they took a while for them to find her. So, all those adventures. That's would be pretty interesting to see. How you doing, Noel? I see him on the popping in on there. I know it's late, bro. I'm sorry. I'm very spontaneous, and I just decided to do a
Your
cast.
ears must be burning.
Oh man, yeah. So anyway, to bring up the points, that's what Doctor Who meant to me. It's such a part of my life, and it shaped my life. And younger generation don't understand that. Like me, Marie didn't understand that really. And I'm explaining it now. And then we get the aspect of like Whovians go against Whovians, and that's another thing I never understood how with the Whovian community how that's like the worst community of battles like known to man is the Whovian community. Like I'm talking people want to cancel culture you out, name drop you this and they're doing live streams and they're bashing and everything and then it gets out of control. And I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, because again, back in the day, I was friends with Noel a little bit, right? And then we were enemies, right? And then Tharies came after, right? And Tharies came after me. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, whatever, right? And then me and Noel are friends again. And then Tharies and him are not friends. And it's like crazy. And then now you're like they were like really enemies. I mean, like really like. And then what people don't understand is like when you were going against somebody, you're angry. You don't realize that anger transforms into like people watch us and people are fans of us and people are such fans of us that they want to defend us and they want to go against person like you're going outside Dr. Frankenstein's lab with the pitchfork and the fire and they're ready to burn the whole house down, creating Frankenstein's monster. It's like you don't understand like the amount of people that will like invested to create accounts and troll accounts in our name and like go attack people. And then at some point in time we realize, oh well, let's back the F off because this is getting crazy now. And I spoke to Tharies because when I did the cast, and I said some stuff because I didn't really know the history, whatever, different things, and I'm like, oh, this piece, whatever, a piece of God, whatever. So that opened up a dialogue for him wanting to talk to me like we talked, and we did an off air, and I'm like, look, and I said my piece. It was not recorded, and I said, regardless of if you have a thing with somebody, when you do a live stream of hate and you create a hashtag like F Noel, you're basically telling people, go fuck his ass up. Like, basically. Yeah, that's what you're doing. That's what it means. It doesn't mean, oh, fuck this guy. No, it means go fuck this guy up. That's what that means. And I'm like, you can't do that. And I told myself, I was pissed off because what bothers me, too, is I know Noel's a grown man, but the aspect of when it hits the wife or it hits the kids. And I had kids, and stuff happens. When people were hating on me, they were going after my girlfriend. They were going after like that is very in this day and age.
And when they use words like and referring to because it is a divide, our side. When they start using terms like toxic, now this is a word that is very often used in this sort of postmodernist realm that we live in, where everything is istphobe and everything has to be put in boxes and labeled.
Right.
Everyone has to think in terms of groups. And that is so self-defeating because all it does is dehumanize people. And once you've dehumanized someone successfully, you can go in for the kill without even thinking about it. Now, that is a big, big human error. Because you can't remove the humanity out of this. Because once you've done that, you yourselves have lost. And when it starts to infect people's lives offline and cause division within the home and upset within the home, and you don't know these people, you don't know what their life experience is, what they've gone through in their lives, and what trials and tribulations that have happened in their lives. Because it's coming from largely from a group of people who haven't had a full life yet. So they're still raging and being rebellious and cool and hip and trendy and following the crowd, okay? The conformist element. But what they don't understand is that comes with a cost, and that cost is someone on their own or in battles under siege, pretty much by a ton of you coming in and infecting their mental space, their family space. And this is toxic. That is the definition of being toxic.
Definitely.
It's death by 1,000 narcissists.
It's
and
one
that
thing.
Is not a good place to be.
It's one thing when two guys are going at it on Twitter, Whovians, battle. But like, say I'm battling this person, and every day it's like tweet, 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 video, video, video. When I turn around and I see the love of my life crying, because people are attacked because of us, then that changes the whole dynamic and everything, because that is your life right there. So someone being hurt, connected to you, and someone's life being disrupted, connected to you, is when you realize and you think, this has gone too far. Because now this affects her. This is like Cheryl. If it would affect Cheryl from Noel, like they would go after Cheryl, then it's and I was really upset because, you know, when I seen this happening to Noel, and I'm like, I had to work a lot, so it's very hard for me to be on Twitter every day. But like when I did see this and I had a moment and I see that she responded, that she's hurt, then I'm like, you know, I'm like, it bothered me. It bothered me, and I know it bothered him, and I'm like, so like I just, you know, said what I had to say to the person on Twitter, and I said it. I'm like, I don't like what's going on. I'm flagging. This is ridiculous. You don't do that. You know, you could do a stream, but you don't. It's like you doing a stream, and it's not about Doctor, but it's about a person, and you're saying a stream about how your opinion is, that not that it's fact, your opinion of this person, and then you're trying to make your opinion a fact to your fan base, and then your fan base reacts, and then you have no control over your fan base, and then you're like, well, I didn't know this was going to happen, whatever. No, but that's the thing. You need to think. When you do something, you need to think, you know, like people will follow you blindly, just like, say, Captain Kirk in the Enterprise, right? People will follow you blindly, like Spock will fix the ship to get it out of danger and risk his life for his friend Kirk and the whole shit, right? It's like that. People do stuff. So the whole thing, that's a movie, but still, like,
but I had
to put that out there. Yeah,
I had this discussion with a YouTuber today who put out yet another hit piece on Bolstrek.
And it's easy. Again, people do that knowing he's on vacation, he's off. Like he's going to be off for a couple weeks. So they're throwing all this shit out there right now.
They're bored. They need to attack their straw man, and set him on fire. So what I did was I saw this. I didn't know this had happened again. I mean, this is like the 31st video, according to Bolstrek, who was on stream with Noel and me earlier. And it's like, that is too much. And then I went on there and I commented. And he replied, and we had a bit of back and forth. I mean, we're talking paragraph comments going backwards and forwards. And I was calling him out. And I was saying, you're gaslighting me, which is a very common thing that they do.
I saw you say something.
It's a sign of narcissism. And I said, you've got to understand that you're doing this. And then he tried to belittle me and make me out that I'm crazy. It was like
Mr. Tar's Reviews the other day. There was an exchange with Mr. Tar's Reviews. And I jumped in because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, basically, like, are you kidding?
Lost cause. The guy is so he's sucked the Kool-Aid like no one else, as far as I can see. There is no saving that one. He's old enough and ugly enough.
Anything.
He's old enough and ugly enough to know what he's doing is wrong, but he doesn't care. Anyway, so since I had that tete-for-tete, he's taken the video down. I don't know if I was responsible or in any part responsible for him doing that, but I'd like to think that I had an impact in that, because what I've been trying to do, especially on Twitter, is to engage with them. Yes, I will retaliate when I see that something is happening that needs to stop there and then, and to point out exactly why they're wrong. It's not something I enjoy doing. It's something I don't feel I should have to be doing. That's the thing. But It's not a crusade. It's not a moral just cause thing. It's because I'm seeing the impact of what it's doing to people. And if it were me, I wouldn't want that. And I see what it does to people. And I see what it's also doing to the people who are perpetrating it, because they're not helping themselves either. But I'll tell you what, when you get these people one-on-one, they are suddenly infinitely more reasonable and more willing to engage if they can understand, even if it's a feeling that maybe they've gone a step too far, there's hope. And
well, just remember how Daniel, I don't know if you noticed that, but when Daniel stepped in and got me and Noel to talking to become friends again, like he went out of his way on Twitter and was successful. And the whole thing is that I said to myself with this kid, with, Barry's, I said, they were friends at one point, and then things got out of hand for a long time. And could you be open-minded into, like, even if you can't be friends, be civil? You know what I'm saying? And maybe if I could get him to realize my point of view, how I thought it was wrong. And if he thought I was right or whatever, and see it a different way. And I may not be able to be peacemaker in this instance, right? But I wanted to try at least, because, and maybe it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like, say, there's 50 people hating on Noel, and now there's 49. But still, like, if I open somebody's eyes to my train of thinking, and if they say, well, maybe that's true or maybe not, they're not closed-minded, So I wanted to try to get them to talk, but when I didn't tell Noah I was doing this, but when I reached out to Noah, he was going to do something with the wife, and I was like, I was going to tell him later. I'm like, okay. So I wanted, after doing it off air, I wanted doing a cast with Tharies, and I said, look, in this we'll just talk about Doctor Who, but we're going to acknowledge that at some point in time in the future, we're going to try to, we'll have something together with Noah and him, and maybe to sort of like piece the ways. Like, that's what I really wanted to accomplish, And I'm not, I was like, but in the Real Whovians cast, like, we're in, it's all about, like, we talk about Doctor Who and stuff like that, and there's no battles and stuff like that. So, and that's look, when people can have different opinions, and people don't understand that you could be in a podcast and you could not get along with the person, but the intellect there, the knowledge about Doctor Who, what you bring to the table, what you talk about, what you liked, didn't like, you don't have to have the same opinion to be in a podcast.
Integrity is key here. Integrity, and at least some element of empathy is required. And I think the empathy part is the hardest part, because we are seeing empathy being systematically removed from the consciousness of a lot of younger people. And it's not, I'm not denigrating them for it. I see them as being the victims in this. They're being manipulated by a system that doesn't care about them. It doesn't care about what they care about, or what they, at least on the surface, care about. There's a lot of peer pressure involved in this. It's like a Maoist sort of struggle session. To cause conformity, and that is deeply troubling, especially when I consider, as I get older, that they're going to decide whether I live or die. Now, I think what I see from the whole situation with Tharies, now I've always liked Tharies. I have seen what he was like before his situation with Noel, and what he was like after. And that is a transformation that was so rapid and so intense. I struggled with that, because I couldn't understand why.
Right, like how it happened, why it happened. He was so loyal to Noel, and everything. He went after me, like, and he, like, bro, I didn't know. I apologize.
He's an angry man.
He went after me defending Noel back then. Like, he really. When I tell you that the kid was super loyal to Noel, he basically didn't even know me. Basically, put it out there, like ripping me apart. Like, you ain't gonna mess with my friends. Like, I'm talking total loyalty. And then it was so weird how when me and Noel became friends, and then all of a sudden they were not friends anymore, and it was like, what the hell happened? But like, the whole point is,
Tharies wants to belong. He wants to belong. He wants to be accepted. I get that.
I don't think he's a bad kid. Here's the thing. I don't think
he's
a
not
bad
at all.
kid.
He's not at all. And he's
a kid. He's not like an adult. I mean, like, that's the thing, is that you have to understand.
He's adulting, right? He's playing the game of.
He's not an adult.
Bustling out. No. But he's adulting, right? So he's put on the armor of adulthood. He is trying to set out his stall. He's muscling out the competition, and he wants to be noticed, and he wants to be taken seriously, and he wants acceptance. That is not an unfair thing to want, and that is not an unusual thing to do as you grow older, especially as you're going through that difficult time of being a young adult. I understand that. Been there. We've all been there. Thing is, with the advent of social media, YouTube and the such, the peer pressure and the cajoling is so much more stronger. I can't even imagine transplanting my 17-year-old self into this age and not lose my mind, quite honestly. I think the pressure must be unbearable.
I mean, I don't know if that's the case with. I don't know if that's the case with him. We don't.
I do, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because it is so public. It is so public, and once you've committed to doing something online on a video that's there forever, unless you take it down, of course, so you have to admit when you make a mistake. I think that there is a peer pressure element in this. I think there is a narcissistic element of control in the background manipulating him. He may not acknowledge that. I think it takes a certain amount of realization and maturity to understand when you're being manipulated. Yeah, it's very difficult to understand that whilst you're in the middle of the process of being manipulated.
Right. I just want to be clear that I just want to be clear. This is not going to be a bash fest for anybody. I'm just saying that.
I say this out of genuine concern for him. Okay.
Right. My opinion as like a father, I see it like, all right, Yvette just said he's a child. I see he's not an adult yet. Regardless of him transitioning into adult, you know, you're going to make mistakes. We all made mistakes at like 16, 17, like crazy stuff. Like it's a weird period.
That's why I said adulting. Adulting as in he's playing the game of being an adult.
I don't think he even knows what he's playing. It's just a thing that years later you'll be aware and you'll be like, oh, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. It's not
he's young. He's going to make mistakes, and that's fine.
We all are.
That's absolutely fine. Listen, if he was tomorrow to say, guys, I fucked up. I made a mistake. I've woken up to.
Well, he did though. He did a video.
I didn't see it, so.
Okay, he did a video, and it was very nice. He came out there and he said, you know, this was, you know, certain things was wrong that he did, and he went about with certain things. But you should watch the video, really.
Is this the one from a few weeks ago, or?
He made a video flat out, and he said, like, you know, he's ending it now. Like, he didn't.
Oh, that one. No, I did see that one. Yeah,
he didn't mean for certain things to happen.
He said it in pretty much the same way. It's a very backhanded way. I think he's struggling.
Here's the thing. After it sets in with everybody reaching out to him, weeks after that video, it's a different mindset. Like, I talked to him, and he sees things like that, I would say. Like, oh, yes, you could get that. You could get it this way. He did apologize, yes.
Well, right. I've been privy to certain amounts of information behind the facade and behind backstage, let's say. Okay, I've come across certain bits of information which sort of matches my own suspicions.
What I wanted is I just want, because I thought that was wrong, the live stream, and I was against that, and then all the stuff that happened, and Cheryl getting the heat of it, I was upset about that too, for Nolan, for her. I just wanted to get
Lounge Lizard.
He stopped. He dropped out of that whole thing. Right.
He realized what the fuck was happening here.
Right.
And he had the maturity, the level of maturity that I would hope would be a bit more common in this current climate. That people will realize that, oh shit, you know, this is affecting people on such a profound level that it's got to stop. Now there are people who do understand that and have spoken to me about that. And I hope it is the start of something. Unfortunately, it's gone so far, we have to remain highly guarded.
I mean, here's the thing. I would like to inject.
He did apologize, but
I would like to inject some humor. Look, as well. After a while, when you look at the situation, it got so crazy, it got ridiculous. You have to laugh at certain things. And I would like to get Noel and Barry's in here not to battle, but to just recognize the friendship that they had in the past, where they're going in the future, and just, you know, certain things. Both parties maybe said things, but like they really probably wouldn't hate each other. Like that's the whole thing. Like there's other people that
it's so contrived and manipulated.
There's probably people that really hate Noel, and I don't think that.
And I tell you, I know who these people are. I know, I know their mindset. I know.
Well, people went after me, and I didn't even know
psychological types that they are.
People went after me just because I was linked in with the hashtag, which I told Noel, it's fine. You can link my name with everything you do, whatever. People blocked me. I never spoke to them before. People started talking smack that my subscribers had sent me messages about me that I don't even know who they are, right? And then people tried to like they're going after Noel, they're going after me too. And I'm like, let's go. You know, it's like, so there's a group out there, people. I think they're really young though. I don't know. And they just want to cancel you where you're done. And they try to make these memes and they make this fake shit. And
this is the education coming into play, or indoctrination.
But Barry's didn't go. Here's the thing. He made a live stream and whatever, but he recently privated that thing. Like you can't see that with the Bash and Noel. And the apology video is up. And but other people keep going. They keep
Well, that's it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And this is what. If they continue down this road, this is why I think that guy took down his video today or yesterday. Is because I made it very plain and very clear that even if it's not his intent, I mean, he labeled it toxic YouTube channels. Right. Once you do that, you've skewed the viewers' expectations.
I think I saw something today.
Yeah.
He labeled a whole bunch of Doctor Who people, right?
Yeah.
Right? In the hashtag. I saw some of that, which is bullshit. But okay,
it's been taken down. It's been taken down.
It's bullshit, right?
Yeah, I mean, what they don't realize is that they may not be the ones primarily going after the person, but that person had 10,000 followers. Can you guarantee that out of those 10,000 followers that you've got, that they are not? Some of them are not just going to go, right, let's go and look this guy up on Twitter. Oh, look, there's a fuck Noel hashtag. There's a Bolstrek thing there.
Right, there's the negativity, not the positivity.
Yeah, because there are crazy people online, and you are a YouTuber, and you've got to be aware that you are going to instigate crazy people to go off and do crazy shit.
Well, here's the thing.
It's never going to stop.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying the kid was crazy, but Memery was upset that I wasn't doing content, and he was just started appearing on the show once in a while. So he took it things another matter where he thought nothing was wrong with it, but he did a video that I guess he thought it was funny. I didn't find some of the stuff funny in it. My son found it funny, but I didn't, and I was pissed. And I'm like, well, how dare you? Like, dude, like, and this is not true, and this is not true. And I flagged it, whatever. And then he made a conscious decision that, you know what? If he has this video up, maybe he won't be on the cast anymore. Maybe he will wreck, you know, any type of communication with me or whatever. And he took down the video, which is fine. That's, hey, we learn. We make decisions.
That's owning it. That's
right, owning it. And I was very proud that he did that. And you know, he was gonna go after a whole bunch of YouTubers. And I'm like,
the thing is, I'll say with him is that he doesn't understand why people are passionate about it. I say to him, and I put it in the comment.
Yeah,
I put it in the comment, and I said, when you love something for 40 years, you suffer, you nail yourself to a cross with this bloody thing as a kid because it sees you through hard times. I went to school, I was bullied mercilessly for like loving.
Oh, me too. Right? Oh, I got beat up too. Yeah.
It was not cool and trendy back then, like it was in 2007 or whatever. Okay. No. It was not. It was like the lurgy. Okay, it was a plague put upon you if you like Doctor Who, and you got beaten the shit out of it for. So when you love something that much and you're willing to suffer all that for it, and you I mean, it was like, I think my earliest TV memory was Tom Baker facing off Davros in Destiny of the Daleks. Okay, so that is like my earliest TV memory that I can think of. So I would have been about 4, and you've been with that all your life for what, 41 years. 41 years. When you love something for 41 years, then you come back and tell me that you don't understand why you're passionate about.
Exactly.
It's something you've loved for 41 years. That is something that's precious and unique to it's something that sparks my imagination. It's like you.
Someone to tell me that I hate Doctor Who, yet if you look at like 9,200 videos, and of the 9,200 videos, maybe like 7,500 are Doctor Who. Like,
clearly hate it.
In my channel, I do not hate Doctor Who. That's my favorite thing in the world. So like,
we hate what's been done to it, and hate is a perfectly natural response to have when you see something you love for 40 odd years plus, whatever, however old you've been a fan, being undermined pretty much. I mean, not just destroyed, but undermined. It's a real gut instinct to want to lash out or protect it because you feel it's being violated in some way. Now, they may not understand the reasons, and they may just see it as the surface postmodernist intersectional argument, okay? Like, oh, it's because it's got a person of color. Oh, because it's got a what? It's like, no. Okay, it's not those reasons. The reasons behind it are, okay, using our critical faculties from the period of time before we were raised, like before this generation came along, and we were raised with this postmodernist doctrine, okay, which is neo-Marxist in origin. Okay, that's not beat about the bush. That's what it is. Okay, you may like that, you may disagree with that. That's what it is. I don't care. Go look it up. It's so anti my instinct, okay, because it feels so forced and it feels so shallow and surface level. It's so cynically employed, and because it's so cynical, it's so transparent. And it seems very malicious in a way. It's manipulating. It's manipulating for all the surface levels, which we all agree are the right things. We believe that there should be diversity because that's what we see in real life. There is diversity.
I have no problem with diversity in Doctor Who. Never had a problem with diversity, but when it's forced upon.
It's not the fact that it's so much forced. It's how it's presented. In this kind of idealized, my voice going. In an idealized world, rather than the world we live in. It's supposed to reflect the world we live in, rather than an idealized world. They seem to bring this up a lot. It's just showing the world and how it should be, or according to whom, right? This is how the world is, but they do it in such a way. It's almost as if it were an inversion of white supremacy. Okay, it's like a form of LGBT supremacy, women's supremacy, whatever, group you want to make. Like they flip the tables. Okay, it's like it's anti-colonialism, but it's a form of colonialism in its own right. So it's skewed and it's made sort of ugly, if that makes sense. Not the people themselves, obviously, but like the way that it's transmitted is
like the new series Doctor Who.
Is in a parameter of a specific crazy French philosophy from the 1960s, and it's using these groups. I mean, I'm a gay man, right? So I feel manipulated. I feel that my sexuality is being used as a shield to stop criticism of bad writing, of bad ideas, or good ideas badly employed. Okay. So I feel that is something which doesn't represent me. My sexuality is not my identity. And I think a lot of people are very confused these days when they think that these immutable aspects of their experience on Earth is a validation of their character. It's not your character. Your immutable traits are not your character. You cannot change your skin. You cannot change who you fall in love with. You cannot change these things. These things are innate within you anyway. Yes, they form part of your character, but they're not your character, okay? They're an aspect, a small sliver. But when you make that small sliver your entire hook in which to hang every aspect of your character on, you are missing the life experience that you need. You're ignoring
Are you talking about like how like people on Twitter, like say Chartist Facts or something, twists the whole concept, like using that platform, like the LGBT community with Doctor Who and all that?
It is an agenda. It is absolutely
like they're going to use that to destroy people. Like it's like doesn't make any sense, but like, oh my god, it's just
look the way that they're trying to manipulate it is Doctor Who is being used, and this was admitted by Kurtzman for Star Trek, as a platform. Okay, it's using neo-Marxist, postmodernist ideas as a platform, and using a well-established science fiction environment, like a well-cherished, pretty much a white male-oriented, historically white male, sort of generally created and not created necessarily, because that's not true, but loved primarily by middle-aged white guys, let's face it. Primarily, that's what it was always targeted towards. There's no getting away from that. Historically, that's what it was.
Right. Okay.
I understand that it should be more inclusive. I get that. Star Trek has always been pretty inclusive anyway. Doctor Who, okay, a white guy in the lead role regenerates many times into another white guy, etc. I understand, but you don't. I mean, people of color, all colors, all races, all genders, all sexualities, whatever, love Doctor Who anyway. They could always find something within it that made them happy. I don't feel myself that I need to be represented by proxy to be entertained. Okay, I don't feel I should be taking something away from somebody else to make me feel better.
Right.
That I don't think anyone should have that attitude or mentality. I think that that is very debasing. I think it undermines everything. I think it's unsettling, and I don't think you're going to win hearts and minds of your average Joe. Let's put it that way. Right. I think you need to have a balance, and I think that we were getting.
Like you need to separate. You need to separate things. Like,
well, I mean, what they're doing now is they're forming a kind of a new form of segregation.
Well, some of the stuff on the line too, they're like pairing the Master with the Doctor romantically, but like how could you be in love with someone that kills like millions of people and is crazy? Like that's just like, and she was his friend, not. They even said they wouldn't be lovers. Like even Missy and the Doctor, they want the like friendship, not loving.
See, I love Missy, right?
Yeah,
I think that's something the Master would do. The Master of Disguise. What's the
ultimate disguise?
Change your sex.
Become a woman to screw up the Doctor, and that's what basically the Missy said, that she got an upgrade just to really one up him, like screw him up. Never had a thought of becoming a woman before, but like just going to do it just to screw up the Doctor. Just
this is a recent retcon as well. Okay, we have to understand when people say, "Oh yeah, but it's established." What in the last couple of years or so, the last few years. I mean, it's I don't mind that so much, but I think you have to write it in a clever way, not just make it so. You know,
Lee,
like it's always been that way.
Hold on, Lee. On the chat, Noel was saying something. Who's Ben Cook? Even if that's
God, no, nothing. Why can I never go a day without that guy's name being mentioned?
Oh, because no one and Yvette like Ben Cook. Who's Ben Cook? Who's that?
Ben Cook is a writer.
Okay.
By all accounts, a good writer for Doctor Who magazine and other publications. He's ingratiated himself into the Who community and. By hook or by crook, got it. I mean, by all accounts, he's a jerk off in a sock, basically.
Is he a friend or foe to Noel?
He's a foe. He went after Rabbi for his opinions, and all he does is gaslight, and he's a typical narcissist. Painting of himself as his profile.
I need a list. No,
yeah.
That chart. How many people?
This guy This guy's in a
Holy
position
shit.
of influence, okay? He's an influencer. Wow. He's on Twitter. He works for Doctor Who magazine. He does like the interviews on the new Blu-rays, okay? He's got his feet firmly under the table, but he uses his platform to go after anyone criticizing Jodie.
A lot of people they use their fame on Twitter for whatever they've done to try to get what they want. Right.
And he gets away with it. And this is why I condemn the BBC and Doctor Who magazine, because they are a culture that allows this to thrive.
It's an example of
bully.
It's an example of when AMC was going to open up and you have to wear masks in the movie theater, and people who are famous go on Twitter and they're like, how could you do this? You'll get the virus. And then they change their tune because they're scared, because people have used their influence and their power.
Fear is a great motivator. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, and then they say, all right, you have to wear a mask in the movie theater. And I'm laughing, and I'm like, and I go to some of these people, and I'm like, how am I going to eat my kid? I'm going to drink my drink. I'm like, when the movie's on. And they're like, you just take the mask off to drink. I'm like, but I'm eating throughout the whole movie. I've been joking about it. I'm like, do you realize what the fuck you've done? Like, how the fuck am I going to eat my gummy bears, my popcorn, my M&Ms, my fucking sodas like this fucking big? And I'm watching it, and the movie's like, and I'm like, fucking the whole movie.
Well, it's like a woman went to the dentist and was told you have to wear a mask. It's like, yeah, but you're going to be, I mean, a dentist, you're going to operate on my mouth,
Like, is somebody going to be with a fucking flashlight, and it's going to be like, sir, you need to put your mask on. Like, the lights are off. What the fuck? So I was just like, I just didn't understand. Like, it just like the lady cuts up the thing in the face mask to breathe, but you just defeated the purpose. So, like, you're saying you got to wear a mask, but so then you're saying that we're not going to eat in the movie theater, and we're not going to drink, and we're just going to fucking sit there? Like, you got to explain that to me. So
I'm fucked. I'm fucked.
Right. I eat constantly when I'm in the movie theater watching shit.
I tell you why I'm fucked, okay? I'm high risk because I have asthma.
Right.
So if I don't wear a mask and I catch this fucking thing, I could die.
Right.
On the flip side, if I wear a mask all the time everywhere I go and I'm exerting myself, I could get a fucking asthma attack and die.
Here's the thing. Like, okay, I wear a mask in my job, right? 12 hours a day. But it's not meant for you to wear a mask and, like, say, run a marathon with the fucking mask on, or, like, do physical.
I went and did my shopping with
that. You could fucking knock yourself out.
Buckets. Yeah.
I tried running with the fucking thing on. I almost passed out. Like, when I was at work, I had the most powerful mask there was, the N95, right? So I'm exerting myself, working, running, and I almost passed out literally. And then I had to wear a lesser mask because I could not. Like, it was a thing where you're going to be working for 12 hours, something that's less protective, but I had no choice. You know what I'm saying? You're unloading the truck, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're not supposed to, yes, in ambulance, like the hospital, they're supposed to do operations on people, right? But you're not supposed to be physically, like, exerting yourself with the mask on, running and this and that. And even, like, you run across the street, you had packages, right? You have the mask on, you can knock yourself out by the time you get to the end of the corner. It's like, because it's like 100 degrees weather, like heat, super hot.
Because carbon dioxide, surprise, surprise, is toxic. It's something you do not want to be breathing a lot in.
Right. So getting back to the movie thing, it's like, I said, they didn't answer me. They didn't answer me. I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to eat? So it's just a thing where, okay, you won your fucking argument, but now I can't go to the movies. Because I want to fucking eat my shit. So I'm going to sit in front of my living room and get all my goodies and stuff. But that also would hurt movie theaters too, because you're spending $7 for a fucking soda. You're spending tons of money for the concession stands. Now you can't go to the concession stand. See what I'm saying? It's like you'll get people back in the movie theater, but you won't get everybody sitting next to each other, but you're still going to lose money. So, wow, okay. Well, I have to touch base with Noel about, like, what's going on. All right, so I noticed this carrying on too long, so, and it's a wee hours in the morning. I do apologize, and I know Noel.
It's daylight now. Look,
I grabbed him. I grabbed Lee. I was gonna go to bed, and then I'm like, oh fuck it, let's
I just wanted to say, like,
and thank you for coming on, by the way. This is the first time
pleasure.
You're appearing on my cast, so I appreciate it.
No, it's more than a pleasure. But just to go back to the Tharies thing again, just briefly, I'm not trying to undermine. I'm not trying to ridicule him. I just want him to understand that no matter what he does now, I get it. I do get it. And I will still be here if he wants to talk about things.
Well, I was telling Therapies, I said everybody that subscribed to Noel, there are people that subscribe to him too. So like when you're going against Noelites, you're going against your own subscribers. So it's like common sense. It's like we don't live in a world where you only subscribe to one person. People are subscribed to many different people, you know? And you got to realize that you might be hurting your own fan base when you start, if you're going to engage somebody, but then you start putting down that person's fans.
It gets very boring for a lot of people watching.
Fans may be your fan. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but I think because at this stage it's become clearly pathological in the sense that it's an issue that doesn't ever seem to go away. It only seems to impound and impede and continue. And I think that will turn people off because people will get bored of it. People just need to come to the realization Bolstrek is not going to change. Noel is not going to change. I'm not going to change.
Everybody is different.
Why should anyone change because of someone else's opinion?
No.
Thing is, if you disagree, you disagree. Boom. That's it. Over.
I had death threats.
I had death threats from 3 years ago.
People make fucking videos saying that if you do not stop by this date, this is gonna happen. I had someone one time text me like, I know it's 2 a.m. and you got your light on by your window. You know, and I'm going to come and kill you in a half hour. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? So, like, the whole thing is that I'm stubborn, maybe. No one's going to fucking change what I want to do. I'm going to do things the way I do. I'm fucking funny. I'm hysterical. People piss me off. Sometimes I go ape shit. Whatever. I'm a human being. I'm not a fucking role model. But I'm going to be who I'm going to be. Noel is doing great on YouTube. He's growing. Tharius is also growing. They're both growing. You know what? Go your separate corners. Become friends or don't become friends, but don't be enemies. That's the whole point. The whole thing is like, if you're gonna like start throw it, listen. Just be civil, friends, or just that's it. But don't be enemies. That's the whole point.
Agree to disagree. My philosophy is like, okay, this started 3 years ago.
Right.
The fandom menace and things didn't just grow out of dissatisfaction with the shows, but also because of people's reactions to them. We only got angry. We only got angry because we were issued death threats from the minute we opened our mouths. And that is not okay.
But you know, we're going to open my mouth all the fucking time if I want to. Like, somebody said something to me, and I got to tell you, there was an instance where one of my subscribers, unsubscribed and wrote so many paragraphs, like ripping me to shreds, saying I was not going to make it.
Well, at least they made it paragraphs.
Well, wait, years later, and I'm talking a week or two ago, Marty said that he was wrong and that he didn't like what Chimno was doing, and he's sorry for going after me, and he subscribed again. An open-minded person, and I said, I want to get you on the cast. I want to talk. I want to see what you think about things. I know that, you know, one thing gets sorted, 5 things created afterwards. I wish I had control over that, but I don't. But in this specific instance, if I can help out in any way, get you guys both in here and talk about it, not battle, but I'm talking like professional things. We both love like Doctor Who. I would love,
just talk on a human level.
I would love for you to talk to Tharius and him to talk to you. And I know that he wants to talk to you, and I know that you probably want to bury the hatchet too. And I think it'll be great because you both agree. You both fucking agree that this timeless child thing is bullshit. So it would be nice. All right, I gotta go because I have to run to the bathroom.
Can I just say quickly, like, you know, I'm trying my best to talk to both sides, and it's difficult. We know it's difficult. Once you've built a trench, you built a fucking trench, and it's very difficult to climb out of that and wander to no man's land.
But I think they're gonna talk. I think they're gonna talk.
We need to talk.
I see it right there. I wish him the best. I see. That's a nice thing, Noel. See that? That's a nice thing.
We all do. We don't want animosity. We never did.
That's right.
We never did. That's the whole crazy thing is we get vilified for having an unpopular opinion, even though it's actually more popular than
I know. Noel's open-minded, and the kid's open-minded too, and I think they can talk. All right, I have to go to the bathroom. I can't hold it anymore. Thank you.
Daylight.
Thank you, Lee. Go eat breakfast. ProblemBeing. Appreciate. Thank you for coming on for the first time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're the best. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Take care. Bye for now.